On a very cold, rainy, windy day in December, we hooked up the Scamp and headed down toward Cape May. One of our goals for this year was to use the Scamp more throughout the winter season, so we decided to take a trip toward Cape May to go see some of the Christmas lights. The regular campgrounds are closed, but Bellplaine State Park was the closest one that was still open, so we headed in that direction. This one?
On the right.
It's pretty good.
Mm-hmm. Right here?
I think so. Yeah, 241. Yep. I think we might be the only ones here. Haven't seen any other occupied campsites so far. I can't blame people. It's pretty cold and windy. At least it stopped raining, but it's still pretty windy. Patrick put the solar panel out and the sun magically appeared. That's pretty good. Redford's running around being generally crazy. And I think we're just gonna hang out for a little while and probably work on, I'm gonna work on sewing some buttons on. It's still pretty windy and chilly. So we're gonna wait until it gets dark and then probably drive down to Cape May. I've been working on getting the Scamp ready for cold weather camping, mainly working on getting better insulation for all the windows. And the last part of this project that I had to work on was sewing the buttons onto the Gore-Tex curtains. And this was just so that they can be rolled up during the day and then unrolled at night. I already finished the Reflectex that fits underneath each of them, and it just makes a great combination of having the insulation and then covering it with this nice red Gore-Tex material so that you're not looking at the shiny Reflectex all the time. And the buttons make it nice to be able to let more light in. Red came inside, he got cold. You cold, Red? Yeah. But I got all the buttons finished. Oh, and he's tired too. Alright, I don't know, it's a little early. There's the buttons, and I shortened the ropes a little bit because I wanted them to roll up higher. I just did those two and those two. So, it looks really nice. I like them. I actually kind of like the new buttons even better than the plain white ones that I had that I lost somewhere in the tiny house. I still have no idea how we lost those buttons, but I kind of like the new ones better, so it's alright. We decided that we're gonna head down to Cape May now, because by the time we get down there, it'll be dark, so it'll be a good time to check out the Christmas lights. We got in the car and headed to the southernmost part of New Jersey. This is where the Garden State Parkway ends. We headed past exit 0, the last exit on the parkway, all the way toward the southernmost tip of Cape May. When we got to Washington Street, which is the main pedestrian mall in Cape May, we got to listen to the bells from the church. And we walked down Washington Street until we realized that we were actually not supposed to have the dog there. So we went onto a side street. And that's when we came up to this Victorian house where they had Santa giving out presents to kids, but this was a socially distanced Santa, so he was using a pulley system. So funny. At the end of the Washington Street Mall, you come to Congress Hall, which is a beautiful hotel which is over 200 years old. and it is sometimes called America's first seaside resort. We found one of these markers for Cape May's holiday scavenger hunt. We found out that there are 12 locations throughout downtown Cape May. They post clues on their website to help you to find the different markers around town, and if you find all 12, you can win different prizes. So lots of fun things going on in Cape May. They were being really creative to make 2020 an enjoyable holiday season. Then we started to walk around to see some of the old Victorian houses that were in the holiday light competition. Cape May was named as a National Historic Landmark because it has one of the highest concentrations of Victorian homes, many of which are from the late 1800s, and the only place that has more classic Victorian homes is San Francisco. So it's a pretty special place, especially when it's decorated for Christmas. Our last stop was the Rotary Park, where they have this beautiful bandstand with a tree and a great place to take pictures. Pat went to go grab some food, and Red and I came back to sit in the car because Red was like shivering. He was getting so cold. It's really windy out, and the wind just comes right off the ocean, so my hands are freezing. I think we might have to get Red like a little jacket or something if we're gonna do more outdoor stuff this winter. But I'm glad we came down here and just walked around for a little bit. People always get such a kick out of Red's lights when he's walking around. Especially the one on his back that changes color. It's pretty funny. So we're just gonna grab food. Pat wanted mozzarella sticks, and then I think we're gonna head back to the Scamp and try to warm it up. Maybe put the Reflectex on the windows and see how nice and cozy we can make the Scamp tonight. It's actually not super cold. It's like in the low 40s, but the wind is so strong. I feel like there's a pretty good wind chill. So I think it'll be a decent test for the Scamp to see how well it holds the heat overnight. Now, our original plan was that we wanted to try to use the Scamp as much as possible over the winter, and I was like super gung-ho about this, like, all right, I'm gonna try to enjoy winter, which I usually don't. I don't like winter, but this year I'm so desperate to like get out and do something that I was like, okay, well, we'll take the Scamp out in the winter. We'll try to maybe do some hiking on days when it's not super cold. But we just found out that December 15th, all the state parks are closing for the winter. I think usually some of them keep a few campsites open, but because of the pandemic, they are closing all the campsites. So that was really frustrating to me because we're so desperate to just get out of the house like everybody else, and camping is one of the things that we feel like is safe and healthy for us to get out and get exercise, but still just be in our own little bubble. So when I found that out, I was not too happy. So we're just gonna try to be a little bit more creative, maybe try different hikes that we haven't done, and I feel like I'm gonna have to up my my gear game because the wind was just not doing well with this.
What are you doing?
Oh, hello! We headed back to the Scamp to try and warm up. This was the first night that we were testing out the full setup with the Reflectex and all of the Gore-Tex on the windows, and it was cold enough that I feel like it was going to be a pretty good test to see if this held the heat effectively overnight. Okay, all the windows have the Reflectex insulation on them, and then I put the Gore-Tex over top of that. Once I figured it out, it wasn't too bad. And it's nice to have the Gore-Tex on top so that you're not just looking at the shiny reflective material all the time. Gives it a little bit of a homier kind of feel in here. So now, Pat went to take a shower, and I'm going to put together the bed extension because Redford is already taking up most of the bed. The extension on the bed is by far our favorite modification that we have made to the Scamp, because being able to sleep and be comfortable is so important when you're traveling. If you haven't seen our last couple of videos, we explained how we got this board of wood at Home Depot and then cut some legs to support underneath it, and then we take the Scamp cushions that usually go on the seats of the dinette and we can squish them in sideways so that it's perfectly level across the bed. And this was just the best because Pat and I can actually stretch out even when Redford takes up most of the room on the bed. How was the shower?
Not bad. It started off strong, but then it kind of pittered out. I thought it was like, oh, nice and hot, almost too hot. And then it was like a little bit above lukewarm.
I think we got spoiled by Elk Neck.
That was ridiculous.
That was like the best bathroom. I really want to go back there.
Yeah.
Just for the bathrooms.
That was better than some hotels.
Yeah. With the Scamp nice and warm, we settled in for movie night.
There it is. My house. At good old Cleveland Street. How could I ever forget it?
Our first night of colder camping in the Scamp was pretty successful. We took all the Reflectex off the windows, and of course there's a good amount of condensation on the windows, but that'll be easy to clean up. It's nice that the Scamp has these little ledges, and I've seen this in other RVs too, where it kind of collects so that it's not going to get on anything else. And the Scamp fur is totally dry, and there's really no condensation anywhere else except for on the windows. So I feel like that shows that our insulation's working pretty well.
It's a win. And the heater only popped on a couple times and I just shut it off. And then just turned it back on in the morning.
It really wasn't running that much. I remember I woke up once and I was like, oh, okay, the heater's on. And then that was really it.
Yeah.
It didn't run that much. And I made coffee in here this morning, so you can see the steam. That just added to the condensation, but it overall really wasn't too bad. I was comfortable. I think that's the biggest thing.
It was actually too hot at one point.
Were you too? Oh yeah, you turned off the heat at one point.
Yeah.
But I was pretty comfortable, which is, you know, saying something, because I'm always cold.
I got the solar out to recharge the battery for the fan for the furnace. That takes a lot of power, but
yeah, I turned it this morning when I let Red out,
yeah,
so it was facing the sun.
Yeah, it does the job though. It's pretty cold and it hasn't gone dead on us yet.
We'll have to do a longer trip one time and see if we can go, you know, like consecutive days using the heater, how long our battery will last without electric hookups.
Yeah.
That'd be a good test. One day. The solar panel that we have now is kind of big and heavy, but it did a really good job of keeping our battery charged. We're pretty much full right now after having lights on and running the fan and running the furnace overnight, so that's pretty good.
Pretty much bad light yesterday. It was very overcast.
Very little sun.
Yeah.
So
We pretty much just charged in the morning. That's, you know.
just with the morning sun, yeah.
Yeah.
Just a couple hours.
It's pretty cool.
Hi. So Red was sitting outside and he was starting to shiver, and I realized we don't really have anything warm for him. He was really cold, so I took one of my jackets and I put it on him. It seems to be helping. He's not shivering anymore.
Looks good on him.
It kind of fits. It was a little tricky to get it on, but kind of fits. It's a good color on you, Red. Very handsome.
Very handsome.
Okay, let's put your vest back on.
Oh, he's tired.
Oh, Red. Is it a busy day? Alright. We're almost ready to go. I grabbed our last leveling block and then we were ready to go. Thanks so much for coming with us on this quick little trip to see the Christmas lights in Cape May. We have some videos coming up about our wood stove as we get more comfortable with that, and we spent New Year's in a rustic cabin, which was just a great trip. So we hope that you will join us for those future videos.
injustice, the next president to be. The news and what you hear, your career. It's time for you to face those fears, and it's all fair to be aware, and I'll be there. So don't be scared. Just take a deep breath of air. And 1, 2, 3 to 10, you begin to focus again. And though time flies, we'll have enough to realize this bigger than the both of us.